Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm playing on my free-to-play account in the Tier 9 Swedish auto-loading heavy tank. It is the Emil II. Ever since the Swedish vehicles went into the game towards the latter part of 2016, frankly, I've been in love with vehicles like this. The Emil II, with its auto-loading capacity and incredible frontal turret armor, just allows you to do some really wacky things. Combine this with 12 degrees of gun depression and you definitely have one of the most flexible tanks on a ridgeline on the battlefield. There really is no comparison for a feeling of having an autoloader that 12 degrees of gun depression, the turret armor, because you can just sit above your opponents and just wail on them, and you can sit in front of them long enough to not have to worry about them aiming at your weak points because the tank doesn't practically have any on the frontal part of the turret. And with a big chonky turret and quite a small forehead on the vehicle, i.e. the forehead, not my forehead, I got a big forehead, but the difference between the what I call the tank forehead, between the gun and the top of the tank, which obviously your opponents are going to be able to see when you go up, being quite minimal on a tank like this. Okay, so I'm playing the Emil II, and immediately I'm thinking, well, maybe I can help this WZ-132A who seems to be wanting to be pushed up into this bush. But oh dear, yeah, trying to push him up into the bush that actually allows the T10 to shoot me in the most bizarre position. Look at that bird splat right on the back of the vehicle. However, I'm going to return fire into the top of the T10, and now these vehicles have got the same alpha damage. Since Wargaming decided to revisit the Kranvang and also the Emil II, they just buffed up the alpha damage of this 120mm main armament to having 440 damage. Now that really did change a lot of things about the Emil II. Because while it lost a round, it actually has a better intraclip reload. Now, well, actually no, if the intraclip reload stayed the same, but the alpha damage increased, being able to deal 440 damage a shot is way better than dealing 400 damage. And so actually the burst damage potential of this tank massively increased. With a 3-second intraclip reload, that enables you to do 1,320 damage within 6 seconds of the first shot. Although, the tank does have its limitations. When you're firing standard rounds, as we're going to see here, a weak point on an equal-tiered heavy like the Moistion just isn't really a weak point altogether. With 252mm of standard penetration on the APCR rounds that this vehicle has, that Moistion was able to bounce all 3 rounds aimed at the weak point. So unfortunately, I hate to do it on my free-to-play account, but considering all of the days of premium that Wargaming have been giving us recently, if you're a reasonably active player, all this week you've been getting a day of premium for playing 10 games of World of Tanks. I can afford the occasional heat round on this tank. And now this is hopefully going to allow me to be able to penetrate the Moistion's weak point quite reliably, although, yeah, not exactly reliably, right, with the accuracy that this vehicle has of 0.38. We actually bounced 2 out of 3 of the heat rounds, so we're 1 for 6 against that Moistion, with 3 standard rounds and 3 heat rounds on this tank. So, pretty irritating stuff there. Also, the premium penetration on this tank at 300 is quite a lot less than other Tier 9 heavy tanks, and so it's definitely something to take into account if you're playing against an Emil. That if you're in a super heavy, like the Moistion, or hopefully you're playing the Tier 10 Mouse, right? You're actually going to be able to bounce quite a lot of shells from the Emil's heat that you otherwise wouldn't have if it had 340mm of penetration like the T10 has. But finally, a little bit more luck. We managed to pen 2 out of 3 there against the Moistion, slowly chipping him down. Although this is an expensive way to play World of Tanks. Each one of these shells is going to be costing me about 4,000 credits, and so each magazine is going to be 12,000 credits. And considering I fired 2 magazines, I'm down 24,000 credits on a free-to-play account, unless you're running a premium account. As I have been doing with all of Wargaming's bonuses recently, which is why actually I must apologize for not releasing many YouTube videos recently, and that is because I've actually been playing a lot of World of Tanks. I've been streaming it, and I've been playing a lot of other games as well, and it's definitely something that I've noticed, and it's something I'm going to try and make up for in the upcoming weeks. I'll try and get back into the swing of things on the YouTube channel, so I apologize for that. But Wargaming giving me little bits of premium time on my free-to-play account, I felt more reason than ever to want to play on this account. And yeah, I've been making some really good progress on it as well. I unlocked the 60 TP for Wargaming's top of the tree. And yeah, having that 60 TP on the free-to-play has been a lot of fun as well. Alright, Moistion just sitting right in front. When he is that close, yeah, it's going to be a lot easier to be able to hit a tank like that. And Emil II, look at we've actually forced the enemies to start firing high explosive rounds at us. Look, the T10 has fired 3 high explosive rounds. And a big old hit from the high explosive round from the T124 deals 349 damage to this tank. So yeah, I really don't want to sit in front of them anymore. I'm not going to be trading very well with those vehicles, even if I do manage to penetrate them. So what I decided to do here is think about, can I fall back altogether? And you'll see that I'm looking on the right, and I'm thinking, yeah, I probably can't manage to make it up there without the Super Conqueror managing to hit me in the side. So instead, what I want to do is try and set an ambush. The Super Conqueror is a one-shot. The T10, I believe, was a one-shot as well, although he might be a two-shot. And what I'm doing is I'm actually asking this 50 TP for some reason, who is just pretty much sitting in base here, to why not come and actually help? But spoilers, I think this is a bit of a bot, boys and girls. And so, with the bot 50 TP unwilling to help us out, looks like it is me and the 50 TP who's very much engaged in the combat to try and hold the valley against higher tiered vehicles, which have way more hit points than us, even combined. So the T124 has a look to his right and thinks, well, is the Emil still there? I'm actually don't appear, and so I lay an ambush for the T10. I let the tank that I can't kill go ahead, and then I finish off his two weaker allies that I could manage to shut down. And I'm a little bit annoyed that I had to shoot that T10 twice there. It's not like I could have killed him with a single shot, but his lucky penetration now means that I'm actually a one-shot for the remainder of the battle, apart from an artillery splash. Now, having killed the T10 and the Super Conqueror that followed him in a single magazine, now I'm hoping that me and this 50 TP can actually manage to pick apart the T124. Now, while the T124 is a more flexible tank destroyer than the T123, for example, it's still not going to have much of an opportunity because its turret can only turn 90 degrees to the left and 90 degrees to the right. And so that is what my priority is right now. Either to double track the T124 or just manage to get behind him altogether, because if I can get behind him, I can lock down his tracks easily and he won't be able to turn his turret all the way to be able to engage me from behind. Combine that with rather poor traverse speed that the T124 will have on its turret, and that's compounded by the fact that this valley on Lakeville is a rather soft terrain. As you can see, tanks are unable to turn very quickly, and I'm getting in the way of the 50 TP there because of that. And so I'm hoping that those two things will allow us to be able to outflank this T124. And again, the Emil dream, being above the T124 with a weak point on top of his tank that I can manage to expose. Unfortunately, we bounced one round. We bounced 2 rounds there off the T124. Unfortunate, now I'm reloading. So I hope that the T124 is not going to be able to get my 50 TP. I communicate my reload with my F key, and it looks like the T124 is actually still firing high explosive rounds as he hits the 50 TP but is unable to manage to fully knock him out. I'm thinking about committing, but instead I decide that it's best if I just hang around above, and if the E4 sits there, then I can manage to shut him down before the 50 TP gets taken care of, and there you go. Free-to-play account, although I did fire, I think it was between 6 or 9 heat rounds this game. Definitely going to have to pay for that in the post-game stats. We'll have to see whether I'm still able to break even with or without the premium account. But I feel it was necessary. One of the things about playing on this free-to-play account that I've realized is that you either just don't fire the standard rounds altogether, or you just fire some premium rounds, but you hopefully fire less of them. Every time I fired a gold round in this game, I felt like it's when it was necessary. When I bounced 3 standard rounds off the Moistion, that cost me 3,000 credits of ammunition. Penetrating 2 out of 3 of the heat rounds with the subsequent magazine, sure, I would have spent 12,000 credits, but would I have earned 8 for actually managing to penetrate 2 shells? Probably. And so you're kind of breaking even compared to if you would have bounced the standard rounds altogether. Now, I'm not saying that the Moistion's weak point on top of the tank, you can't penetrate it with standard rounds. You definitely can. You just have to try and hit it flush outside of the thicker rings that are on top of the weak point. And yeah, when you've got mediocre accuracy like the Emil has, that's not going to work. One of the funniest things in this entire replay is the fact that, yeah, there's a Kampfpanzer 50T on the enemy team, the ranked reward, and he got caught out in the middle against this 50 TP. I'm not going to call it a bot, but I'm going to say that it's playing a little bit like a bot. But looks like the bot-style gameplay of this 50 TP was still enough to be able to shut down the reward vehicle from ranked on the enemy team. I was very happy about that, because now that they've lost the vision from the center, that means that I can make my way into the town and hopefully help this 432 and also the artillery shut down the 50B. So the 50B, very similar to this vehicle, but worse turret armor, better hull armor, but a much better unload speed, less alpha damage, but considering I'm on 328 hit points, it's very unlikely that I'm going to be able to get a shot into him anyway. So now we are in a 3 versus 1 situation, but I have 1 self-propelled gun support, and the enemy have 2 self-propelled gun supports. And considering that the 50B is on, I think it was about 1,400 hit points there, I'm not quite able to deal with him in a single magazine. And so that means that after I manage to shoot this FV3805, I'm instantly going to reload. One of the advantages of having a fairly small magazine is that you can manage to reload fairly quickly. With a 25-second base reload on this tank, once you get vents on the vehicle, once you get some good crew skills, then you're able to shave that down to a point where you're actually able to re-engage effectively. Alright, so the 50B is now actually down to 1,230 hit points, and this is a very important moment because that means I can actually kill him in a single magazine. I'm hoping I'm going to flank him, and this is a very important moment. Do you see how the 50B backs off? When the 50B backs off, light bulb moment. Why would he back off? He fired 2. He's got 2 rounds left. If he backs off, that must mean that he's reloading, and so that's my opportunity to be able to press him and hopefully not low roll and shut him down with 3 rounds. It's one of the things I want to highlight one of the things I'm most proud of in this round of World of Tanks was that outplay on the tier 10 heavy tank. I took a risk by flanking. I felt like it was probably one of my only chances to be able to win because I couldn't rely on this 50 TP to get into the combat quickly. I decided I wanted to get in there and be able to finish off the 50 TP, but it was his hesitation, the fact that he actually fell back, that led me to believe, at least, that he was reloading those 2 rounds in his magazine. In my opinion, a big mistake there by the 50B to reload, as I was spotted, I believe, getting into that position. Or maybe I wasn't. I'd actually have to have a think about that one. Okay, so look at it like this. I can't quite remember what happened with the situation. If I was spotted, yeah, I definitely was spotted because of the artillery. Yeah, he should not have reloaded there. He should have thought, okay, Emil's on 290 hit points, or I guess I was on about 330 because I took a little bit of ramming damage from the 50B. That player should not have reloaded, should have kept those 2 rounds, and should have probably tried to hunt me down. By reloading, it left him open. And by leaving him open against a player who could read the mental of an autoloader by being very experienced inside the game, we're able to realize, okay, he hesitated, he's definitely reloading, and that gave me a window to go in and shut down the tier 10 autoloading heavy tank. And that is where, kind of like the Kranvang and the Emil II have just been made to be so much better than vehicles like the T57 Heavy and the 50B. Just the higher alpha damage combined with the smaller magazine means that unless you actually need those 4 rounds, I'd definitely rather be playing something like the Kranvang, or I'd rather be playing something like the Emil II than playing the tier 9 and tier 10 competition that those 2 vehicles have. And that's why this tank is getting amongst the best statistics on my free-to-play account. I think this thing is an absolute monster, boys and girls. I've called this thing a hull down god before, and I definitely stand by those words. The tier 9 Emil II and the tier 10 Swedish Kranvang are absolutely incredible inside World of Tanks. Sure, in a situation like this, where you manage to go hull down in the valley, which is definitely one of the best places to be having a Swedish heavy tank, is going to be favourable for a vehicle such as this. However, having been playing this thing frequently on my free-to-play account recently, I can tell you that it's not just situations like this where this vehicle can excel. Still having a 3-round 120mm autoloader with 440 alpha damage and only a 3-second intra-clip reload and enough penetration to be able to go through whatever pretty much you need. Yeah, this thing's going to do good in pretty much all situations, apart from when it gets all-inned by multiple tanks and they manage to find its hull armor. And yeah, that's why I've been absolutely loving playing this vehicle recently, and I can thoroughly recommend it, even free to play. Because here's another thing that I've realized recently. You can't reduce the intra-clip reload on regular autoloaders by having good crew skills, by having bond equipment, by having all of these advantages. Which means that autoloaders are actually very good free to play. Sure, you're maybe going to have a little bit worse gun dispersion. Sure, your accuracy, your gun handling, all of those things, your view range, your camera rating. Yeah, pretty much everything in World of Tanks is crew skill based, apart from intra-clip reload. It's something that a free to play Emil II is just as dangerous as a pay to win Emil II when it's completely loaded. Which is why I can thoroughly recommend these tanks. not just to all of the premium players out there, definitely to the free-to-play players as well. So firstly, let's assess the damage. Yeah, I spent 60,000 credits on ammunition here, although we did fire 26 rounds. Now, if I wasn't running a premium account, we would have lost 15,000 credits. It's not great at tier 9. It's definitely not a disaster for a situation where you had to fire some heat. And so gold rounds, special rounds, premium rounds, whatever you want to be calling them, are still very much usable even towards the high tiers on a free-to-play account, as long as you're careful with them and just not firing them unnecessarily. And the result is an ace tanker for our 1,670 base experience points, a steel wall for blocking only 1,810. I guess that was because a lot of high explosive rounds ended up hitting our vehicle, and I guess that adds towards the steel wall, as well as the large caliber AP rounds. Talking about large caliber, we got a high caliber here for our 6,000, nearly 600 damage, and the 6 kills will also give us a top gun. And so, Swedish auto-loading heavies. Definitely some of the most fun tanks I've been playing recently on my free-to-play account, and I would thoroughly recommend them if you brush them aside or never even considered giving the Swedish top-tier auto-loading heavies a go. Anyway, that's it for today, ladies and gents. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, give the video a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for another World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, most of you want to see the T57 Heavy. That's good news. If you've clicked on this video and you thought you were going to see Swedish auto-loading heavy tanks, well, now come and see the American auto-loading heavy tanks. They are the high DPM, high burst damage, don't give a monkey's kind of vehicles, which can result in some truly outrageous miracle games. And if you've never been to one of my tech tree showcases before, they're basically like miniature tank reviews from tier 1 all the way up to tier 10, so you can see if it's a line that maybe interests you, or if you already have the tanks, maybe pick up a few tips and tricks along the way. Talking about tips and tricks, the T54E1 is changed in this tech tree, so maybe that's why a lot of you voted for it. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.